He's Daniel Jeremiah, NFL.com analyst, former NFL scout. Got to see Johnny Manziel in person, Jadeveon Clowney in person. Now ready to go see Oklahoma, Alabama in person. And that's what I like. You get these guys, you get to see these guys up close, and then they make their assessments. Daniel Jeremiah joining us. Let me start with Clowney. You got to see him. The critics are always going to say, does he take plays off? Does he really love to play? He's freakishly athletic. But where do you stand on him? If the draft was today, let's just start with that. Draft today, Jadeveon Clowney is going when?
I still think he's got a real good shot to be the number one pick. I was at that game yesterday, Dan, and I go down there and watch Clowney on the field before the game, and then I get in the press elevator and I go up to the press box. The first person I see in the little media room there is J.J. Watt, who's there to watch Wisconsin. And you kind of have that thought go through your head, okay, you're in a division where you got to compete against Andrew Luck for the next 15 years. Having J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney to chase him around is not a bad idea.
I thought the same thing when I saw they had the number one pick, that the obvious choice would be a quarterback. You know, you get Bill O'Brien to bring in his guy. But I even said this to the Danettes, I could bring in Clowney and put him with J.J. Watt. I got a pretty good defense. What did you ask Watt about Jadeveon Clowney?
No, he was talking with somebody. I didn't want to be the stand next to the guy you're talking to and just wait for 10 minutes. Like, oh, hey, let me introduce myself.
I think that's fascinating. But then I don't know if anybody's sold on anybody at quarterback, because for everybody who loves Bortles, then you got a handful don't. Carr, people love him. Manziel, his size. Bridgewater, his size. Where do you stand after what you saw with Manziel and a slow start against Duke? Where did he help himself at all, or is that possible?
Well, no. I mean, I think he did help himself, Dan. I mean, I heard you had a fascinating conversation earlier when you guys were talking about kind of, the stock. Does the stock go up, or down, and all that kind of thing inside draft rooms? And the interesting thing is, you get to these games, a lot of times the season is wound down for some of these teams, especially if they're out of the playoffs. So the decision makers get out to see these bowl games. So a lot of times that's the first time that they're seeing these guys. So I think if you do perform really well in the last game of the year in a bowl stage like this, I think it can help you. And with Manziel, look, I went to the Cotton Bowl last year where he torched Oklahoma. He tortures Alabama twice with Nick Saban. Then he goes to his next bowl game, and it's Duke. I get it, but still, it's a big stage, and he delivered. So, I mean, he is intriguing. I mean, my biggest concern is just physically, can he hold up? One thing he has to change as a runner, he seeks out contact at this level. You can't do that. You can't do that at the next level. He'll have to clean that up. But I think he can throw from the pocket. He's the most creative playmaker I've seen. I call him kind of Tony Romo on steroids when the play breaks down. So I think he can do it. I think he can be a big-time guy. It's just you're going to have to get comfortable with the fact that you believe he can hold up physically.
What about Teddy Bridgewater?
Teddy, I like. I mean, I think he's somebody that can do everything. I mean, it's been out there. The only concern is with him as well as kind of his frame. Is he sturdy enough to hold up? I've heard concerns about the small hands, and there's some teams that are big on that. I watched him on tape last year. He was against Southern Miss and just one of those Louisiana torrential downpours, and he was throwing it all over the place, and it wasn't really an issue. So I don't have as much of a concern about that. If I rank him right now, from what I've seen, I still have some more tape to watch, but I would still have Bridgewater 1. I'd put Manziel 2. And Bortles probably, there's a little bit of a gap for me, and then Bortles would be 3.
Well, he's sort of the flavor of the month, though, Daniel.
Oh, I agree with you. The thing with him is, if you look at the individual skills, like, okay, he's got that size that those other guys don't have. He's a really good athlete. You saw him run around. He can do that stuff last night. He's got a strong arm. So you look at those things individually, you really like it. But I can say the same thing about Jake Locker when Jake Locker came out, kind of those same skills. The problem that I have with Jake Locker is I think he's purely accurate. And when I watch Bortles, I have some of that same concern. Now, can you improve in that? I think you've seen Kaepernick improve at it with Harbaugh there. I think you can to a degree, but I don't think you go, to that elite level. You can either have that or you don't.
Final 15 seconds. The most sure thing in the draft is going to be who? What player?
I'm going to say Khalil Mack, a linebacker from Buffalo. He is a stud. He is a big-time guy. He can rush the passer. He can cover. He can do everything. He's a football player.
Safe travels, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. We'll check in with you in the coming months.
All right, thanks, Dan. Take care.
All right, Daniel Jeremiah, NFL.com analyst, former NFL scout.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.